my name is Tammy and thank you for joining me today. Are you scared of sewing the curves in the Drunkard's Path quilt block? Well, today I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you improve your accuracy with sewing this very fun but seemingly challenging quilt block. So I am using the AccuQuilt GO cutter, and I'm also using the dies to cut the Drunkard's Path. So tip number 1 is the way you cut your fabric matters. So I'm going to call this die right here the pie piece, and the pie piece I'm going to cut in blue. So when you sew this piece, this edge will be sewn to the square or center square part, and so therefore, since it's a curve, you really should cut this on the bias of the fabric. And let me show you what I mean. So here I have a pre-cut, pre-starched piece of fabric. This is considered the lengthwise grain, and this is considered the crosswise grain. It has a little stretch here. So if you kind of stretch it like that, you can see the bias. So what I'm going to do is, since this is my bias curve that will be sewn when I sew the 2 pieces together, I'm going to place the fabric on the die so that it's as close as I can get it on the bias edge. And it's kind of hard to see, but you see all that stretch there? And you can see how the stretch is going right above the curve. So you take your mat, you put your sandwich into the cutter, you press and turn and hold down. There we go. Takes a little bit to get it going. Cut it through, pull it out on the other side, and then what you have is, ta-da, your pie piece cut on the bias. I'm not going to stretch it because I don't want to warp it prior to sewing, but that's what it looks like. So that's the pie piece. The second piece to make the Drunkard's Path is called the center square. Now, what happens is when you sew that pie piece, you're going to sew it here. And as you notice, this right here is a curve, and therefore, if you can get the bias edge of the fabric here is best. But from here to here, this part doesn't stretch. So I'm going to place my fabric on the lengthwise grain so that this whole part is lengthwise grain. And then when I sew the blue pie piece, it'll be on the bias and it'll curve. Let me show you what I mean. Lengthwise grain going this way. Again, how do you find that? You kind of pull the fabric that way. You see how there's minimal stretch and then a little more stretch here. So I'm going to tight right there, place it on the die. You want to make sure all of the dark gray areas are covered. You place the mat. I like to flip my mat each time I cut it. It just extends the life of the mat. You take this sandwich, you place it into the cutter. Once you get it going, I just kind of hold it here so that it doesn't rock. Crank it through, comes out the other side. A little rub to remove the static. Take the mat off, take the fabric off, and voila. What you have is the second piece, okay? So essentially what I'm going to be doing is sewing the center square together with the pie piece.